annual meeting is taking place here in Nassau this week, bringing together regional leaders, policymakers, developmental partners, and stakeholders to discuss some of the most pressing issues facing our region. Good morning, Bahamas. I'm Jiminita Swain, and I'm coming to you live from the Bar-Mar Convention Center. And from economic growth and infrastructure to climate resilience and social development, the decisions and discussions taking place this week have implications for communities across the Caribbean. Now, joining me now is Dr. Isaac Solomon. He is the Vice President of Operations at the Caribbean Development Bank. Good morning, Dr. Solomon, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Jiminita. Good morning to the Bahamians who are looking at this broadcast in the Bahamas and beyond.
Awesome. So for our viewers who may not be familiar with the Caribbean Development Bank, what exactly does the CDB do and who does it serve?
Okay, so I'll begin by telling you who we are. So the Caribbean Development Bank is the only multilateral development bank that serves the Caribbean exclusively. So the Caribbean is our portfolio.
Okay.
We're singularly focused on the Caribbean.
Very large portfolio, I might add.
Yes. And our mandate is simply to promote the transform lives across the region for every citizen of the Caribbean here in the Bahamas and in our other 19 borrowing member countries. And we do that in a way that is equitable and inclusive at once. Let me break that down. What I'm saying is that we want to make sure that our development leaves no one behind. And so we pay special attention to the vulnerable and disadvantaged and the ones who are easily forgotten. So the poor, the persons with disabilities, women, girls, indigenous people, we ensure that they all, and the youth, of course, and we ensure that they all have a voice in the development of the region. And we ensure we do it for people by including people.
And I understand that.
Yes.
So your theme for this week is investing in our future, the CDB in the Bahamas. So what brings the CDB to Nassau this week, and why does this annual meeting matter to ordinary Bahamians?
Yes, so our charter, which is the agreement setting up the Caribbean Development Bank, mandates that we have an annual meeting to not only account for our stewardship, but also to chart the path forward. And so the Board of Governance, which sits at the apex of our corporate structure, is mandated and to host that meeting every year. This year, your Minister, the Honorable Michael Halkitis, is the chairman of the Board of Governors, and it's customary for the chair to host the meeting in their home country, and that's why we are here.
And a major meeting at that.
Yes, it is. But perhaps I could give a little bit more context. But we are meeting here in the Bahamas at a time when we are still grappling with some legacy issues in the Caribbean, high debt, economic contraction, and of course, vulnerability to external shocks of every kind. And those legacy issues are being compounded by some emerging risks, which are driven largely by geopolitical tension. So the cost of living increases, supply chain disruptions, those are all emerging issues with which you have to grapple. And of course, the urgency of the climate crisis looms very large.
For all of us.
For all of us.
So then tell us, the Caribbean faces so many pressures, as you so rightly pointed out just now. You mentioned climate change, economic uncertainty, the rising cost of living. So then how does the CDB respond to all of these issues that you so rightly pointed out?
Yeah, so we just got approved our 10-year strategic plan. And the 10-year strategic plan takes into consideration our environment and the background and our exposure to one vulnerability or the other. And so it's built on a framework of resilience. And that is really key. I just want to use one example, and I'm sure the people in the Bahamas can relate to this. In the last 8 years, we have had 5 Category 5 hurricanes. Now, these are supposed to be 1 in 100-year events.
Very much so.
So let's that sink in for a moment. We have had 5 of them in 8 years. What that does is to erode the development gains that we would have made. And so some countries are forced to contract more debt on top of the high debt overhang, which I mentioned up front. And before you could repay that debt, you are hit with another challenge right? And another challenge, and so our strategic plan is built on resilience, trying to ensure that we put in the mitigants against all those vulnerabilities. And so the 3 development areas of resilience would be environmental resilience, social resilience, and economic. And then we do have 3 priority areas coming out of those. Investing in youth, and you heard about the youth fire we had for the past 2 days.
Yes.
Strengthening institutions, which are very important, and of course responding to the climate crisis.
And obviously this is very timely as we now go into the hurricane season as well, that we all have to prepare for.
Exactly.
So in a sentence or 2, what do you want Bahamians to take away from this week's meeting?
I want Bahamians to recognize that you have a partner in development. You have a partner who is invested in transforming the lives of all Bahamians and the region. And I would love if they could understand more the role that we're playing as the Bahamian Bank, because I didn't say it up front, but the Bahamas is a founding member of the Caribbean Development Bank, and the inaugural annual meeting was held right here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
56 years later, you're back, right? Yes. Wow. So obviously a wonderful relationship that we as a region, the Bahamas, has built with the CDB, and obviously that'll be something that will continue. So. Indeed. Thank you so much. Obviously, this is a great step in helping Bahamians understand the role that you play in the work that you do and how important this partnership is for us moving forward. So the discussions are about to kick off, I guess the opening ceremony, I should say, in a little less than half an hour, and that should be very interesting as well. So we appreciate you for taking your time and providing us with the insights so we all get a better understanding of what the CDB is doing for us in the Bahamas. And I should say welcome back again, 56 years later, an amazing legacy. So thank you again, Dr. Solomon, for joining us on the broadcast.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure.
Indeed.
Thanks.
Caribbean businesses pay up to 4 times more for electricity than in the United States. For any business trying to grow, that's a death sentence. Renewable energy potential is here, with regulatory barriers, financial gaps, and aging infrastructure are crippling the transition. This is why the Caribbean Development Bank is convening an action-oriented dialogue. Energy transition, the key to a more resilient Caribbean. We are moving problem to engineering the solution. It is time to unlock the region's single greatest opportunity, using sustainable energy to secure our economic destiny. Join us live online on Thursday, June 4th at 9 a.m. Let's make energy work for us. Picture this. A Caribbean economy pursuing growth, investing in infrastructure, building resilience, and yet buckling under the weight of debt. Debt that was manageable until interest rates spiked, until the hurricane hit, until a global shock struck. But new approaches are emerging. Together with partners, the Caribbean Development Bank is redefining how debt is structured, reducing costs, and linking debt relief directly to development outcomes. The CDB seminar on innovative debt solutions will examine bold financing tools that can redefine how the Caribbean escapes the debt trap. Getting this right is not optional. Be part of the solution. Join us online live on Thursday, June 4th at 2:30 p.m.
So for island nations like the Bahamas, resilience isn't just a policy goal. It's a necessity, from strengthening critical infrastructure to improving access to reliable water services. Long-term investments can make a significant difference in how communities prepare and recover from natural disasters. And of course, the Caribbean Development Bank has been supporting several major initiatives in the Bahamas aimed at building that resilience. So joining us now is Mr. William Ashby. He is the acting chief for economic infrastructure at the Caribbean Development Bank. Good morning, Mr. Ashby.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Wonderful having you here with us. So we're just going to jump right in. So the CDB has been investing significantly in the Bahamas' water infrastructure. So can you give us a sense of the scale and what that means for communities?
Sure. So at the moment, we've got a portfolio of 3 active investment projects in the water sector. One of them, which was approved in 2015, is just about to close out. But there was a new one approved last year by our board of directors. So that was about $47 million approved in March last year. And just this past Monday at our board of directors meeting, a new project was approved, and the amount of that was about $64.8 million US. And why that one is particularly important is because that includes a grant component of about $37 million from the Green Climate Fund. So we're really talking about large investments. The project, which was approved last year, included also contributions from the European Investment Bank. So working with partners, be able to mobilize substantial amounts of concessional resources to help to strengthen climate resilience in the water sector here in the Bahamas. And you asked what that looks like. So by the name of our work area in the bank, you tell we are looking at infrastructure.
Correct.
So that's one of the pivotal things. So helping to modernize transmission and distribution systems, storage systems, groundwater supply infrastructure. That's one of the key things that these projects generally entail. But the projects go beyond infrastructure to look at strengthening resilience in the levels of the institutions, looking at Water and Sewerage Corporation, helping them to improve their operational capacity, their efficiency. In the Green Climate Fund project, we've got other elements which look at strengthening the regulatory framework around the water sector. So water sectors generally, you will have not just the operator, but you have economic and environmental regulation to help to make sure that the management of the sector is sustainable. So that's kind of one of the pivotal things in this as well. And to be able to make better evidence-based decisions, strengthening data collection is another key part of this, so that persons then the agencies responsible are able to make more informed and accurate decisions around groundwater abstraction, for example. They would have better information about the impact of things like saltwater intrusion and drought on the groundwater sources, and help therefore to be able to manage things more sustainably.
So very critical areas of concern, it seems.
Yes.
So obviously the Bahamas, like the region, is no stranger to hurricanes and climate shocks. How is the CDB's support helping the country to become more resilient, as you spoke to it earlier?
Well, so resilience for us, as I kind of alluded to, takes many forms. So, and our strategic plan hinges on 3 pillars of resilience. So we look at economic resilience, environmental resilience, and social resilience. So all of the things I've talked about just now, when we talk about water, because water is so cross-cutting.
Yes.
In terms of economic resilience, everything in the tourism sector depends on water, the health sector, just about all aspects of life.
Definitely is so to what we need and what we do every day.
Foundational pretty much to the functioning of society. So when we help to make a stronger water sector, we strengthen strengthening economic resilience, we're strengthening social resilience, and as I talked about managing groundwater more sustainably, then you are talking about environmental resilience as well. So more directly, though, or in other ways beyond that, we're also working with the disaster risk management framework in the Bahamas to make direct interventions there, helping to strengthen disaster risk management strategies, setting up evacuation frameworks, looking at continuity plans in those agencies so that, despite our best will, things will happen.
But basically, we'd be able to respond.
You are able to respond in the immediate aftermath of these things and to continue business without disruption. So many different ways we're tackling this problem.
So we get two more questions. We got to get them in quickly. So you mentioned bigger numbers earlier in our discussion, 100 million plus in water and resilience projects. Who ultimately benefits from that and how quickly? And I'll ask you our final question if time permits.
Sure. So this project, we will be looking at many family islands. We, in fact, expect about 200,000 persons to be the direct beneficiaries of this. Businesses and households are the immediate direct beneficiaries of these investments in the water sector across Abaco, Exuma, Andros, all across the Bahamas.
I'm sure they are happy hearing those words. That is definitely wonderful. So what does CDB's continued engagement in the Bahamas look like going forward? And is there more in the pipeline?
Well, certainly, because what we're looking at is really building on what we've already started in the water sector. So building on the operational efficiency, asset management, and the resilience initiatives. But beyond the water sector, we've also done work here in the transport sector. There's a lot of work ongoing in the education sector. So in helping to make projects be implemented more efficiently, we have been working with the Office of the Prime Minister on delivery of projects. So our footprint is pretty deep, and our partnership is very strong, and we look forward to just continuing to work to support the government and people of the Bahamas in achieving their development objectives in the coming years.
Awesome. Well, Mr. Ashby, thank you so much for sharing those insights and for helping us to better understand how these investments translate into a stronger, more resilient communities across the Bahamas. And I know for persons tuning in the family islands, they're definitely excited to hear about how these projects are definitely benefiting them as we move on in the future. So again, thank you so much. We thank you for your time and appreciate you joining us to give us more clarity on, like I say, such critical issues.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
A trade war erupts. Commodity prices spike. A geopolitical crisis unfolds thousands of miles away. But within weeks, the Caribbean feels it. Higher prices, tighter fiscal space, economies absorbing shocks they cannot control. External threats are reshaping the region. The question is the region ready to face them? EdgeX Analytics Unlocked is the Caribbean Development Bank's new platform built for this kind of analysis. It launches with shockwaves, how global crises are hitting the Caribbean. The region cannot respond to what it hasn't clearly measured. EdgeX will deliver the data and the analysis to chart the path forward. Watch the broadcast Friday, June 5th at 2 p.m. This is where knowledge becomes strategy. Don't miss it. You're stuck in traffic again. But that gridlock isn't just frustrating you. It's quietly strangling the Caribbean's growth. Lost productivity, stagnating economies, competitiveness quietly eroding every single day. Traffic congestion is no longer just a transport problem. It's a measurable drag on regional development, a constraint that hasn't been adequately addressed until now. The Caribbean Development Bank is unveiling EdgeX Analytics Unlocked, a bold new platform turning cutting-edge regional research into real policy action. First under the microscope, stuck in traffic. What congestion is costing the Caribbean? Data, modeling, analysis, and a frank conversation about what must change, because the region cannot afford to keep absorbing losses. Join us online, Friday, June 5th at 10 a.m. This is where analysis becomes action. Don't miss it.
So now we are joined by Lisa Harding. She is the division chief, and she is going to give us an idea of what the Impact Room is all about. So what is going to be happening in the Impact Room?
Hi, good morning. So the Impact Room is a new initiative for the Caribbean Development Bank. It's the first time we are showcasing at the bank's annual meeting. And it's really intended to showcase the work of the private sector division and the programs and support that we offer the private sector. Most of the Caribbean and imposed persons know the bank in terms of supporting governments and, the infrastructure. But what we also do is also support SMEs and mobilize private capital to support the development of the region. So the Impact Room is showcasing 5 of our flagship initiatives. Our lending and investment team, which is critical for unlocking finance and increasing access to finance. We are also showcasing our Cultural and Creative Innovation Fund, a bespoke fund that was established a few years ago to support persons in the orange economy. And of course, we know that as Caribbean people, we are very creative, very dynamic. And, we really have we have a special program to support the creative industries, to make a more enabling environment for the creative industries and to help them to not only monetize their talent, but also to professionalize the sector, to provide safety nets for the sector. I mean, we saw what happened with COVID, for example,
we did.
And to make the sector more resilient. We also have a program for women's economic empowerment called She Trades, which supports women-led businesses. And of course, we know that, girls rule the world.
That is correct. Let them know.
Yeah. So, but this is an important program because we recognize that there are some disparities in how women access markets, and they need specific nuanced support, including more mentorship, coaching, information to new, knowledge products and so on to help them spur their businesses. Because, as you know, most women some women, I should say, also have the additional responsibility of care responsibility for their home, for children, etc. So, we have to have more customized and bespoke programming with that in mind to also allow more women to trade and to export and to scale their businesses as well. We also have our program which supports MSMEs in general. We're talking about agribusiness, tourism. We're speaking about climate-related investments and infrastructure projects, incubators, skills training, capacity building. We also support institutions that support MSMEs, so we help to strengthen them to be able to deliver advisory services to MSMEs across the region. So we work with a number of partners in that regard. And of course, we also have a program that specifically focuses on trade facilitation. This is in support of the European Union and the Caribbean Development Bank. And that is also looking at quality infrastructure because, as you would know, to trade, you need to meet certain standards, you need to meet certain certification, and therefore building that quality infrastructure, it really unlocks market access. So what we thought was to bring all of those interesting and, really unique programs under one roof, in one room, the Impact Room, so that persons can engage. It's really about fostering relationships, meeting our teams, and understanding, because we're taking an ecosystem approach to business development and private sector development. That includes not only the entrepreneurs, but financial institutions, development partners, etc.
So, if I may ask, why now? I mean, that seems like obviously very important areas to cover, which is great to hear, but why now? And how impactful do you hope that it is during the session?
Yeah, so why now? Because more than ever, I think over the whole, for the first 2 days of the annual meeting, we have heard a lot about the challenges that the Caribbean economies face and the fact that the government cannot meet the demands alone. We know that there's a financing gap of some $62 billion in the next 10 years to meet development needs of the region. We're talking about infrastructure, schools, roads, bridges, hospitals, healthcare, every key things, exactly. So we need the private sector to be able to support and partner to help meet that development agenda. So, really that's another private sector within the region. The private sector also, makes up the majority of the jobs and employment across the region as well. So we need to partner with the private sector. The private sector is more agile as well. They bring the innovation, they have the skills, so we need to really harness. And that is why it is critical at this point in time, because we have a huge financing development gap to fill, and the private sector is uniquely well suited to fill that gap.
So basically all hands on deck.
Correct.
So who are we gonna see in the Impact Room getting all of this great information that you're gonna be sharing?
Yes, so we're gonna see entrepreneurs. There's been such a great, the outpouring of interest and support from entrepreneurs themselves. You're going to see investors. And again, we're speaking about, it's like a, matchmaking. So you're going to see entrepreneurs, investors, our development partners. We have Compete Caribbean and IDB program is also in the Impact Room. We have local partners, the Bahamas Development Bank, the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, the Bahamas Trade Commission. So they're all there. So it's a combination, again, very important because public and private sector are complementary. And we need to have both areas supporting this really, really important private sector ecosystem.
And obviously, I imagine a lot of planning went into pulling all of this together. How excited are you to introduce it during this annual meeting?
I am beyond excited.
I can feel your excitement.
Yes, it has been, literally a few months, and literally, a few months where we developed the concept and brought it to life. And we are so amazingly proud of what you will see maybe later today. But it's really been a phenomenal experience, and we're just so happy for the support and to be able to showcase this as such an important, at the annual meeting of the Board of Governors and Directors of the Caribbean Bank, and with such a wide and diverse stakeholder base who's attended the annual meeting, who will be in a position to view and exchange and connect with us in the private sector division of the Caribbean Development Bank.
So what would you hope are, say, 2 or 3 key components that you hope those in attendance take away from the session today? You mentioned 62 million is a lot to fill. But obviously, as you talked about, the private sector does have a role to play, and they are critical in this partnership to make those things happen. What are some of the key takeaways that you hope attendees connect with from your messaging?
Yeah, so I think one of the key areas is that no one institution can do it alone, and that's why partnerships matter. And the Impact Room is really about fostering and stimulating partnerships, connection, and conversation. So what we're saying is, really start the conversation, meet the teams, understand the ecosystem. There's so many players, but oftentimes, entrepreneurs or investors don't know how to connect the dots. We at the Caribbean Development Bank have made it easy. We've connected the dots all in one room for you. And we just hope that, persons are able to, as I said, enjoy, forge some new relationships, reconnect if there have been relationships before, and start the conversation, because we recognize that just the starting the conversation can change a trajectory of a business, a community, and sometimes even a country. Because we've seen what happens when an entrepreneur meets an investor, when someone with an idea just gets that right support, or where a government meets a critical partner for a really significant infrastructure investment project, as able to bring it to life.
That is exciting. I want to say congratulations in advance, because like you say, you had a few months to pull it all together, and this is the launch of your baby. today. So thank you so much for joining us again, Ms. Harding. Have a wonderful launch in the Impact Room, and it sounds very exciting and very dynamic.
Yes.
So thank you again, and have a great day.
Thank you so much, and welcome to the Impact Room.
There you go. Ms. Harding made it clear that the Impact Room sounds like a place where you, the future creatives and innovators, need to be. But obviously, we are just so encouraged to hear what is available to the people of the Bahamas and to the region. So thank you again, Ms. Harding.
Thank you.
Well, obviously, that concludes our interview segment of the 56th Annual General Meeting for the CDB. And they are basically just a few minutes or moments away from the official start. So we're going to conclude these sessions again. I'm Jimenita Swain, and it's been a pleasure. We're going to wait for a few more minutes. How exciting are you just to be in this room? It just seems like so much energy and so much capacity for greatness. Tell me what you're feeling right now. You've been smiling from you sat down.
No, the energy is palpable. I mean, as I said, this week in general and today feels like a culmination in a sense. We have young people, especially the energy from the young people in the room. We started with our youth forum, that Youth Fire Forum, and the energy of the young people who are so eager and willing to contribute and have their voices heard in the development space as well. And as I said, just the diverse perspectives and stakeholders that are here in the room, it just makes for an awesome event. And, you know, this is not only just for fun and energy, but it's such a critical time for the region. We see what's happening globally. We see what is necessary in terms of regional integration and us coming together as a Caribbean. And for us at the Caribbean Development Bank, which is the Caribbean's indigenous bank, I mean, it's important for us. We have a critical role to play, and I think that this meeting is a critical point in re-engaging, discussing critical issues, and really bringing the Caribbean to the forefront in the global economy.
How did you select the areas of focus? They seem very niche when you're talking about creatives in the orange economy. You're talking about the needs of women. You're talking about resilience in terms of what's happening with the climate. Did you just look at the key issues that you see are facing the Caribbean and you said, hey, these could work? Or what was the process to say, you know, this is what we're going to go with?
Okay. So I think, you know, initially we would have had very, you know, we were talking, you know, 50 years ago, but, you know, very kind of generic, MSME or private sector development programs. But what, you know, in terms of the evolution of the bank and what we understand in terms of being more responsive is that the private sector is not homogeneous. Right? They have different types of players with different needs, and we therefore have to provide and deliver bespoke programming to suit those needs and to really be relevant to the sector. So we recognize that the creative industries, for example, would not necessarily follow the same trajectory in terms of business cycle, the types of support needed as an agribusiness. Right, so we decided to, you know, establish, you know, more nuanced programming, more customized and fit for purpose, so that we can deliver the most appropriate solutions to those sectors. So in that sense, the Creative Industries Innovation Fund was established, and subsequently the She Trades program was also established. And we're not done. I'm sure that because we recognize that, as I said, we really need to evolve. We really want to be as responsive and agile as possible. Right now, there have been conversations around the youth as well. We've done a lot of work in terms of youth entrepreneurship as well. But, you know, we may be looking at maybe a youth program in the not too distant future. And of course, we also recognize, because of the change in demographics as well, the silver economy is another untapped market that we may consider in the future as well, in terms of how to address that and unlock that potential. Because again, with the region, to really effect regional growth, inclusive growth, we have to attract and unlock the potential within all demographics who are able to contribute to growing the region. So that's the young, and it's the medium, and it's the silver. I won't say old, but the silver.
I like the terminology because nobody wants to be called old, right? So obviously you are capturing all areas like you pointed out. And I think that's a great thing because, you know, at a certain point you feel like what else can I contribute?
Yes.
Am I able to still make a contribution? Am I relevant? So the fact that you're thinking about it means that we all, no matter what age, can connect with our audiences from whatever sector we are, and to continue to build not only our country, but the region as well, because you say this creates opportunities for us to trade with each other. So that's definitely a great step in the right direction.
Yes, certainly. And in the I just want to mention as well, in our lending and investment team, so as we increase our ambition in the private sector as well, we would have traditionally provided lines of credit to financial intermediaries to on-lend to the private sector. Again, the bank is evolving and we're trying to be more fit for purpose and be more responsive. So we are now exploring new financial instruments, in addition to our lines of credit, to respond to the growing needs of the private sector that I mentioned earlier. So we're looking at products like our trade finance guarantee product to unlock capital for SMEs. We are looking at more project financing, co-financing, working with a wider range of players, commercial banks, etc., and directly supporting projects that have significant development impact as well. So we ourselves are also evolving, we are growing, and we are trying to be more fit for purpose to help support an inclusive, competitive private sector across our foreign member countries.
Obviously, I know that there is someone probably in Grand Bahama or Abaco watching us now, and they're like, darn, I wish I could be a part of the Impact Room and all of those discussions today. What do you say to them in terms of still being able to access the information, programs, or projects available to them?
Yes. So we do have a partner, as I said, in Bahamas. We work very closely with the Bahamas Development Bank, the SBDC as well, and as I said, the Chamber of Commerce and the Trade Commission. All of the content that is going to be developed over the next 2 days, we will have recorded and made available through our partners. We weren't able to stream all of the sessions today, but we will be in contact and we will be deploying those conversations over the next couple of months. So it's not all lost. And again, we're partnerships. So we have strong partners on the ground that we will also be working with to get the message to, the wider population in the Bahamas.
Nobody wants to feel left out. So that is a great way to keep them connected. They would be like, well, why didn't you find out? I need to know. If I can't be in the room, I need to know how to make it happen.
Yeah, so contact your SBDC, contact the Chamber, contact the Bahamas Development Bank. They are fully aware of all of our programming and would be happy to get in contact with us to see how we can do, again, maybe something more specific and unique to support those private sector across the Bahamas.
Well, you seem to have selected very critical issues that I think captures various sectors of the society. So that's definitely a great start.
Yes. Thank you.
So what now? The nerves have settled a little bit, or they're kind of just building to when you step into the Impact Room and unleash all of this outstanding information?
No. The work is we have a lot of work to do. This is like when I was at the beginning, but this is a continuation on the journey. We're happy to be here to be able to present, as I said, what we have, but we also want to hear from the private sector itself. This is very, very important to help us to go when we go back to inform our programming and to make sure that we are, spot on, that we are actually hitting the right notes and that we are responding to the needs of the sector. And so it's an exchange. I'm looking forward to the exchange and looking forward to refining our product offering going forward.
Well, it sounds like it's something that a lot of people will be interested in hearing more about. I like what you're doing, and I like that we have an opportunity now for persons to listen in, to know what they have to look forward to, because a lot is compressed into this week. But the Impact Room sounds like somewhere you definitely want to be, and if you can't be, you want to still find out where to go to get that critical information. So that is definitely something that a lot of us are looking forward to. And obviously you as well, you said Caribbean people, we are all very creative people. So that's great that you have an opportunity to showcase what you do, not just in your country, but across the region.
Definitely.
what is your, what are you hoping that people take away and expand from the impact room? Even the name is interesting. Why did you pick it there? Why did you pick the impact room?
Because that's what we are about at the Caribbean Development Bank. It really is about impact. How do we transform lives? How do we make our citizens more resilient? How do we make them more productive? How do we make the private sector more competitive? What is and this is all around the impact that our interventions make, whether it be our loan financing or our grant resources. We are deploying them to make an impact. We are very results driven, so it's not for sake of, just because it might be an interesting topic, or no, we want impact. We want to move the needle. We need the region to develop. And I don't want to get too much into the economics right now, but you may be aware that the growth rates of the region have been somewhat stymied, and we need to improve and increase that rate of growth. And that rate of growth really rests. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. It really rests with a more productive, more competitive private sector, businesses that can scale, businesses that can employ more persons, so that we can tackle the unemployment situation across the nations, including youth unemployment, which is, again, this is the future of the region. So we need to have young people gainfully employed in business pursuits or otherwise. So we need to have, and that's why it's so important. We also know that because we are a vulnerable region subject to climate shocks, we know about the hurricanes. Every 2 years we're impacted, not to use the fun, we're impacted by some of these constraints. So we have to really be so much more intentional about the support so that we can really drive growth and development.
Definitely. I was speaking with Dr. Solomon earlier, and he was saying, hey, in the last 8 years, we had 5 of the most massive storms that you expect maybe to have one in 100 years. We had 5 of them.
Yes,
and you never know what this new season is going to bring, but obviously we all have to be prepared for it. So it's a great way to look at strengthening those areas and, like you say, making an impact.
Yes.
And being resilient. So that is definitely something that's critical, and something that obviously we all have to think about, because it impacts our future. Like you said, if a business is able to be scaled, that means not only more persons employed, but more money in the local economy as well. And speaking of money, are you able to speak to the kind of investments the impact would be making through these projects?
Yeah, so in terms of the sectors, as I said, we have, while we have the Creative Industries Innovation Fund, we have identified a few priority sectors for our investment. These include agribusiness, and why agribusiness, food security is critical. Again, I take us back to, we see what happens when supply chains are disrupted. So we need, as a region, to be able to have a very, food security is critical. So supporting agribusiness and moving from primary, just production, to value-added agribusiness products. So, we know the history of our countries. Barbados used sugar cane, but what have we done with the sugar? How have we made it a commodity, a primary product? As opposed to, exporting the raw material, the value added is done elsewhere, and then we import the finished product. So working with clusters is important for us as well to, attract investment in that space. We're looking at water and sanitation, transport, resilient infrastructure. So again, building back better, stronger, more resilient, so less, impacted by the climate shocks that we know are coming and are going to, continuing to come, so that we can, rebound easier, mitigate some of those risks. We're also looking at connectivity and broadband, because again, digital transformation is critical. So climate resilience, digital connectivity, agribusiness, those are some of the key areas that we're looking at, in addition to...
Well, this is all very, very interesting, and obviously the discussions will continue later today, but this will have to, again, thank you, Ms. Harding, for joining us, but this will conclude our interview segment, because obviously obviously they're ready to start the opening ceremonies for the annual general meeting for the CDB. So thank you so much. Have a great day.
You.
I'm Jimenita Swain, but we are going to toss it to the podium for the official opening ceremony of the 56th annual general meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank.
This is not just a meeting, it's a mandate. We will shape strategic solutions for uncertain times, empowering youth, strengthening institutions, and accelerating climate action to build a future that is resilient, inclusive, and unmistakably Caribbean. The moment is here. Let us seize it. Welcome to the 56th annual meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank. Together, we will forge the Caribbean's future.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests joining us here and across the region and around the world online via live broadcast in the Bahamas, Belize, and across the Caribbean. Good morning. On behalf of the government and people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, it is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome you to the opening ceremony of the 56th annual meeting of the Board of Governors of the Caribbean Development Bank. Before we proceed, please permit me to acknowledge distinguished guests joining us this morning. The Right Honorable Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, members of Cabinet, honorable parliamentarians, members of the Diplomatic Corps, senior government officials, leaders of the private sector and civil society, representatives of regional and international organizations, members of the clergy, specially invited guests, members of the media, and again, all those joining us via live broadcast across our region and across the world. Your presence today reflects our shared commitment to regional cooperation, sustainable development, and the continued advancement of the Caribbean people. My name is Barry Griffin, former Vice President of the Senate in the Bahamas and current Chairman of the Bahamas Trade Commission. I am your Master of Ceremonies, and I extend a warm welcome to all delegates to my home, the beautiful Commonwealth of the Bahamas, proud hosts of this year's meeting. At this time, we are honored to invite you to witness a defining moment of this opening ceremony, the procession of the bank's governors. We kindly ask that you hold your applause until all governors have been announced and are in place. Leading the procession, representing the bank's 5 British overseas territories, Anguilla, the Cayman Islands, the British Virgin Islands, Montserrat, and the Turks and Caicos Islands, islands renowned for their natural beauty, commitment to preserving its natural environment, cultural charm, biodiversity, resilience, and vibrant tourism economies. Please welcome Anguilla's first ever female premier, a history-making leader, and a powerful symbol of progress and possibility across the Caribbean. The first governor leading off the procession, the Honorable Cora Hodge Richardson. From Antigua and Barbuda, the home of world-class sailing, rich cultural heritage, and a strong voice for small island developing states on the global stage, where there's a beach for every day of the year and a legacy of excellence from cricket, home of Sir Vivian Richards, and a remarkable legacy of West Indies legends, including Sir Andy Roberts, Sir Richie Richardson, Sir Curtly Ambrose, well known for its global advocacy. Kindly join me in welcoming Mr. Whitfield Harris, alternate governor and advisor at the Ministry of Finance. Representing Barbados, the proud home of the vibrant Crop Over Festival and of global icons from Sir Garfield Sobers to Rihanna, a distinguished nation at the forefront of climate advocacy and financial innovation, leading the call for reform of development finance for vulnerable states and helping shape the future of sustainable development on the world stage. Please welcome the Honorable Ryan Strawn, Minister of Finance. Representing Belize, a country at the forefront of ocean conservation and home to the world's second largest barrier reef, where the rhythms of Garifuna culture were carried to the world by Andy Palacio, the homeland of George Price, and a country whose influence spans culture, sport, and global achievement. Please welcome Dr. the Honorable Osman Martinez, Minister of State. From Brazil, Latin America's largest economy, a global agricultural powerhouse, and a key driver of South-South cooperation, the land of Pelé, a global cultural icon, and one of the world's most dynamic and influential economies, we welcome Ms. Marcela Tetnazer Laiz, Temporary Alternate Director. From Canada, a global leader in innovation, inclusive growth, and multilateral cooperation. The nation of global statesmen and champions of diversity, including Prime Minister Lester Pearson, Nobel Prize laureate, we welcome Mr. Philippe Hall, Temporary Alternate Governor. Representing Colombia, a nation rich in biodiversity and increasingly recognized for its leadership in sustainable development and regional integration, the homeland of Nobel laureate Gabriel Garcia Marquez and one of the world's most biodiverse countries, please welcome Ms. Alba Martinez Barrera, Temporary Alternate Governor. From the People's Republic of China, cornerstone of global trade and development finance, with a long legacy of innovation and transformation, an ancient civilization that gave the world many innovations, and a modern driver of global development, we're honored to welcome Mr. Lu Li, Temporary Alternate Governor. From Germany, renowned for engineering excellence, economic strength, and leadership in climate and energy transition, the nation that gave the world the printing press and pioneered the modern automobile, birthplace of Beethoven and Einstein, please welcome Mr. Fabian Clem, Temporary Alternate Governor. Representing Grenada, the Spice Island, celebrated for its rich culture, natural beauty, and growing resilience agenda, please welcome the Honorable Lennox Andrews, Governor. From Guyana, one of the world's fastest growing economies, an emerging energy powerhouse, helping reshape regional prospects, please welcome Dr. Tarshand Balogim, Temporary Alternate Governor. Representing Haiti, nation of profound historical significance, symbolizing resilience, cultural strength, and the enduring spirit of its people, please welcome Mr. Jean Boucaud Jean-Jacques, Temporary Alternate Governor. From Italy, a nation whose legacy spans art, innovation, and global influence across centuries of civilization, please welcome Mr. Ludovico Soderini, Temporary Alternate Governor. Representing Jamaica, a cultural superpower whose music, athletic excellence, and global influence continue to inspire the world, please welcome Ms. Darlene Morrison, Alternate Governor. From Mexico, a dynamic economy bridging North and Latin America, rich in history, culture, and global partnerships, please welcome Ms. Yunen Hernandez, Temporary Alternate Governor. Representing St. Kitts and Nevis, Ms. Laverne Keeley, Temporary Alternate Governor, Deputy Financial Secretary, Ministry of Finance. Representing St. Lucia, a nation of breathtaking beauty, home of Nobel laureates, and a champion of sustainable development, please welcome the Honorable Wayne Gerard, Temporary Alternate Governor. From St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the gems of the Antilles, and a powerful advocate for climate justice and Caribbean resilience, please welcome Prime Minister and CDB Governor, Dr. the Honorable Godwin Friday. Representing Suriname, a richly diverse nation where cultures converge and biodiversity thrives, please welcome Mr. Vincent Fernandez, Temporary Alternate Governor. From Trinidad and Tobago, the birthplace of steel pan and home to one of the region's most dynamic energy sectors, please welcome Mr. Dorian Noel, temporary alternate governor. Representing the United Kingdom, a long-standing partner in development finance and global economic leadership, please welcome Ms. Sarah Labat de Crieff, temporary alternate governor. And from Venezuela, one of the world's most biodiverse nations, rich in natural resources and cultural heritage, please welcome Ambassador Raul Licausi, alternate governor. We now also welcome to the stage the distinguished members of the head table. Please join me in receiving CDB's Bank Secretary, Ms. Alana Goodman. Vice President, Corporate Services, Mrs. Jillian Charles Golop. Vice President of Operations, Dr. Isaac Solomon. President of the Caribbean Development Bank, Mr. Daniel Best, Chairman of the Board of Governors. The Honorable Michael B. Halkitis, MP, Minister of Finance of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And ladies and gentlemen, please stand as we welcome the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the Honorable Philip Edward Davis, KC, MP. Before we welcome the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, please also join me in welcoming the Deputy Prime Minister of the Bahamas, I. Chester Cooper. And now join me in welcoming the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Philip Edward Davis, KC, MP. Ladies and gentlemen, these distinguished representatives stand at the highest level of decision-making within the Caribbean Development Bank, each bringing the voice of their nation and together shaping the future of development across our region. Please join me now in warmly recognizing the Board of Governors of the Caribbean Development Bank. We also wish to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Dr. Natalia Wheatley, Premier of the British Virgin Islands. Ladies and gentlemen, the governors are now in place, and we are ready to begin the 56th annual meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, as we commence this historic gathering, I invite you to join us in paying tribute to our host nation, the country I call home. Please keep standing for the national anthem of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you. It is often said that the future of our nation and our region rests in the hands of our young people. This morning, we are delighted to showcase some of the finest young musical talent in the Bahamas. As you take your seat, please join me in welcoming the National Youth Orchestra of the Bahamas. please give another round of applause for our National Youth Orchestra. What an absolutely amazing display of Bahamian talent. Now, I would be remiss as a Bahamian, and in particularly in the presence of our Prime Minister and our Deputy Prime Minister, who's the former Minister of Tourism, if I didn't use this opportunity to plug the Bahamas. We know that most of you are here for some very serious business, but if that didn't just convince you to explore Bahamian culture while you're here, I'm not sure what would. And even if you're not able to get out of the hotel and explore our culture, we beg that you put your toes in the sand, dip your feet in the ocean, and we're sure that you are going to want to return to the Bahamas. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we formally begin our deliberations, it is fitting that we pause to seek divine guidance and wisdom for the discussions ahead and for the continued prosperity and development of our region. Please welcome now the Venerable James Palacios, who will offer the opening blessing.
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we acknowledge your presence and we thank you for it. Your presence among us during the course of this 56th annual meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank. We thank you for those who have come from near and far, not only to enjoy the fellowship, but to chart the course for many generations yet unborn. In a world of so many uncertainties, we thank you that we are such an excellent example of Caribbean unity and stability and success. Help us to humbly show the world what can be accomplished when Caribbean people unite. We thank you for our partners from distant land, as we thank you that we all share this common humanity. We thank you, Lord, and remember fondly those whose vision it was to found this august body. Let us remember that we sit in the shade of a tree we did not plant, and we are planting a tree in whose shade we will not sit. Bless our proceedings, Lord, and may it redound to your honor and glory and the building up of the Caribbean region, and indeed the world. In your Son's holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Palacios, for those thoughtful and uplifting words. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to the official opening of the 56th annual meeting of the Board of Governors of the Caribbean Development Bank. It is my honor to invite to the podium the Chairman of the Board of Governors of the Caribbean Development Bank, Governor for the Bahamas, and Minister of Finance for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the Honorable Minister Michael B. Halkitis. Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Griffin. Good morning to all. I extend warm greetings to our distinguished leaders, prime ministers, governors, honored guests, members of the diplomatic corps, members of civil society, representatives of the private sector, our regional and international partners, and especially the young people of our Caribbean community who carry the promise of tomorrow. It is both a privilege and a profound responsibility to stand before you at this opening ceremony as we gather under the timely and compelling theme, Forging the Caribbean's Future, Strategic Solutions for Uncertain Times. Those words capture the reality of the moment in which we are living. We meet at a time when uncertainty has become the defining condition of the global landscape. Around the world, nations are grappling with economic volatility, geopolitical tensions, technological disruption, climate emergencies, food insecurity, rising debt burdens, and widening inequality. For the Caribbean, these challenges are not abstract headlines. They are lived experiences. We know what it means to rebuild after hurricanes devastate entire communities. We know what it means to confront rising costs while protecting vulnerable families. We know what it means to defend our economies against shocks that we did not create. And yet, despite these realities, the Caribbean continues to stand with resilience, creativity, courage, and hope. Indeed, the story of the Caribbean has always been a story of resilience. Our ancestors survived slavery, colonialism, displacement, exploitation, and hardship. They built cultures that transform pain into music, struggle into strength, and diversity into unity. They laid the foundation for nations that continue to inspire the world through perseverance and innovation. Today, however, resilience alone is no longer enough. The future demands strategy, the future demands transformation, the future demands bold leadership and collective action. The question before us is not whether uncertainty exists. It does. The real question is whether we will allow uncertainty to define us or whether we will define the future ourselves. And I believe wholeheartedly that the Caribbean possesses the talent, the intellect, the resources, and the determination to shape a future that is resilient, inclusive, sustainable, and prosperous. But to achieve this future, we must confront several urgent realities. First, we must recognize that climate change remains the single greatest existential threat to our region. The Caribbean contributes minimally to global emissions, yet we remain amongst the most vulnerable regions in the world to climate disasters. Hurricanes grow stronger, coastal erosion accelerates, sea levels continue to rise, agriculture, tourism, fisheries, and infrastructure all face increasing pressure from a changing climate. Caribbean leaders and institutions continue to emphasize that resilience and climate adaptation are no longer optional. They are essential to survival and sustainable development. But, ladies and gentlemen, amid this challenge lies opportunity. The Caribbean can become a global leader in climate resilience and sustainable development. We can expand renewable energy. We can invest in resilient infrastructure. We can strengthen food security through climate-smart agriculture. We can unlock the potential of the blue economy and create industries that protect our oceans while generating jobs and innovation. The transition towards green economies is not merely an environmental necessity. It is an economic opportunity for our people. Second, we must strengthen regional unity and cooperation. The Caribbean has always been stronger when we act together. No single nation in our region can confront global uncertainty alone, but together, through coordinated policy, shared innovation, and collective advocacy, we possess a powerful voice on the international stage. Whether the issue is climate finance, trade reform, digital transformation, food security, or access to development financing, our strength lies in unity. As United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres recently stated, quote, "A unified Caribbean is an unstoppable force," end quote. And indeed, our unity must extend beyond governments alone. The future of the Caribbean cannot be built solely in parliament chambers or conference rooms. It must also be shaped by entrepreneurs, educators, farmers, artists, researchers, innovators, labor leaders, and youth advocates. It requires collaboration between the public sector and private sector, between academia and industry, and between civil society and policymakers. The challenges we face are interconnected, and therefore our solutions must also be interconnected. Third, we must place young people at the center of regional development. Across the Caribbean, young people are already leading change. They are launching businesses, driving technological innovation, advancing for climate justice, building creative industries, and reimagining what Caribbean leadership can look like. Yet, too many young people still face unemployment, migration pressures, limited access to financing, and unequal educational opportunities. We cannot speak about forging the future while excluding those who will inherit it. And therefore, we must invest intentionally in education, digital skills, entrepreneurship, research, and leadership development. We must create pathways for young people not only to participate in the economy, but to lead it. The future Caribbean economy will be powered not only by natural resources, but by human creativity, digital innovation, and knowledge-based industries. And this leads to another critical point: technology and innovation. Artificial intelligence, digital finance, renewable technologies, and global connectivity are rapidly transforming the global economy. If the Caribbean fails to adapt, we risk being left behind. But if we embrace innovation strategically, we can position ourselves competitively in a changing global environment. Digital transformation can improve healthcare, education, governance, trade, and financial inclusion. Technology can help small businesses access global markets. Innovation can strengthen disaster preparedness and modernize public services. However, technological progress must be inclusive. We must ensure that rural communities, small island states, vulnerable populations, and underserved citizens are not excluded from the benefits of modernization. True development is measured not only by economic growth, but by whether people feel safer, more empowered, and more hopeful about their future. Ladies and gentlemen, the Caribbean also faces serious economic vulnerabilities that demand strategic solutions. Most of our economies remain heavily dependent on tourism, imports, and external markets. Global disruptions, from pandemics to supply chain crises to geopolitical conflict, have shown us the danger of overdependence. Economic diversification is therefore no longer a luxury. It is a necessity. We must strengthen agriculture and food production. We must support small and medium-sized companies. We must deepen regional trade. We must invest in manufacturing, logistics, renewable energy, financial services, and the creative economy. We must also advocate for fairer access to global financing systems that recognize the unique vulnerabilities of small island developing states. Caribbean institutions and international leaders continue to call for reforms to global financial systems that better account for vulnerability, resilience, and sustainable development needs. Too often, our countries are classified as middle income while carrying overwhelming debt burdens and facing repeated climate disasters. Traditional measurements fail to capture the true realities of vulnerability in our region. The Caribbean deserves development systems that are fair, equitable, and responsive to our circumstances. But even as we advocate globally, we must also act regionally. We must strengthen governance, transparency, and institutional capacity. Strong institutions create investor confidence. Strong institutions improve service delivery. Strong institutions help societies withstand crises and maintain stability during uncertain time. Caribbean development leaders continue to emphasize institutional strengthening as essential to resilience and long-term prosperity. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, we must maintain faith in ourselves. The Caribbean never lacked brilliance. We have produced world-renowned scholars, athletes, artists, scientists, innovators, and statesmen. Our cultural influence extends far beyond our geographic size. Our people continue to achieve greatness on every continent. What we need now is the confidence to believe that Caribbean solutions can solve Caribbean challenges. The future we seek will not arrive automatically. It will require vision, it will require sacrifice, it will require courage, and it will require partnership. But history has already shown us that when the Caribbean moves with purpose, extraordinary things happen. And so this morning, as we officially open these meetings, let us commit ourselves to more than dialogue. Let us commit ourselves to action. Let this ceremony mark the beginning of a renewed collaboration. Let it inspire innovative thinking and strategic partnerships. Let it strengthen our determination to confront uncertainty, not with fear, but with confidence and resolve. The Caribbean stands at a defining moment. The choices we make today will shape the opportunities available to future generations. They will determine whether our societies become more resilient or more vulnerable, more inclusive or more divided, more sustainable or more fragile. But I remain optimistic. I am optimistic because I believe in the strength of our Caribbean people. I believe in our resilience. I believe in our ingenuity. And I believe that even in uncertain times, the Caribbean possesses the power to forge a future of dignity, sustainability, unity, and shared prosperity. And so let us therefore move forward together with vision in our minds, courage in our hearts, and determination in our actions. Together, we can forge the Caribbean future we deserve. Thank you, and may these meetings be productive, inspiring, and transformative for our entire region. Thank you very much, and good morning. I now invite the Governor for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. the Honorable Godwin Friday, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, to the podium to give the reply to the welcome address on behalf of the borrowing member countries.
Good morning, the Honorable Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Philip Davis, the Honorable Chairman of the Board of Governors, Michael Alcides, President of the Caribbean Development Bank, Mr. Daniel Best, the Honorable Prime Ministers, Premiers, Ministers, fellow governors, members of the Board of Directors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to respond to the welcome address on behalf of the borrowing member countries of the bank. I feel blessed. We are grateful to the government and the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for the gracious welcome and hospitality extended to us as guests. You made us feel like the family that indeed we are. Personally, I am delighted to be back in Nassau after so many years. We commend the president of the bank, Mr. Daniel Best, the management and dedicated staff of the bank for the tireless preparatory work and strategic foresight and responsiveness that have set the stage perfectly for the deliberations here. We gather under the theme, Forging the Caribbean's Future, Strategic Solutions for Uncertain Times, which captures well the urgency of this historical moment. We are navigating fast-moving, shifting global geopolitical currents. Old alliances are strained, and long-accepted conventions are being questioned, with no reassuring answers, requiring us now, more than ever, to proceed with a united regional front. The borrowing member countries face a challenging economic environment characterized by persistent structural vulnerabilities, tightening global credit conditions, and severe climate shocks. Central government's debt remains chronically high, with debt to GDP ratios exceeding the prudential 60% target in 9 member countries. In my own country, exceeding 113%. This high debt burden severely limits borrowing countries' ability to fund necessary investments to accelerate economic growth and protect the most vulnerable of our citizens. We face tightening supply chains, rising shipping costs, escalating fuel prices, and high cost of living. Presently, these problems are associated with the Middle East war. But we also know that absent that conflict, we would still be facing difficult economic conditions in our countries. We are further constrained by a challenging international aid environment. Official development assistance from partner governments has experienced a marked decline, exacerbating the critical financing gap. Caribbean nations are forced to do more with less. At a time when the region requires an estimated $14 billion annually for comprehensive climate response, it mobilizes less than 10% of that amount. It is therefore imperative that our development partners become more adaptive, more responsive, and willing to provide highly concessional financing and dedicated resources for loss and damage that will not worsen a bad debt situation. We acknowledge that the Caribbean Development Bank is an indispensable partner in the project of regional economic transformation promised upon regional integration. However, regional economic integration is sustainable only if partners all derive benefit from it and economic disparities among member countries do not grow too wide. The bank is uniquely positioned to promote that end. The CDB is the only multilateral development bank whose core constituents and owners are the Caribbean people. Through decades of working directly in this space, the bank has developed a wealth of experience, talent, and invaluable knowledge about our countries and region. The bank has become indispensable to our development. Consequently, the CDP is well placed to speak credibly and in a focused manner for its Caribbean constituents, and to be in the lead in designing solutions tailored to the needs of our economically and climate vulnerable small open economies. A striking demonstration of this transformative impact is observed in my own country, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which after decades of repeated severe shocks have seen efforts on the part of our country and the bank to develop resilient infrastructure. The modern port in Kingstown, the school improvement projects, the road management and rural road programs, all fortify our country in the face of shocks. These interventions prove that when targeted CDB capital is merged with local knowledge, it has the power to transform lives, elevate communities, and build climate-resilient economic assets. To safeguard Caribbean futures, the borrowing member countries call for greater collaboration in building resilience in a comprehensive way, spanning environmental, economic, and social dimensions. This comprehensive resilience framework must guide the bank's operational priorities in the years ahead. The Caribbean has entered the 2026 hurricane season, still nursing severe wounds inflicted by Hurricane Beryl in 2024 and Melissa in 2025. We are familiar with the enormous economic toll those extreme weather events extracted, and therefore must respond effectively. The environmental strategy of the CDB and borrowing countries must focus on building climate resilience economic assets, upgrading coastal infrastructure, and expanding early warning systems. The bank's Climate Change Project Preparation Fund is critical in resolving resource bottlenecks, enabling timely and enhanced capital flows for adaptation. Economic resilience requires that there be support for countries that absorb shocks while sustaining inclusive growth. The borrowing member countries must aggressively pursue economic diversification across modern frontiers, including digitalizing public services, reducing high fossil fuel imports by exploiting renewable energy sources such as the geothermal projects in Dominica and St. Kitts and Nevis, and investing aggressively in solar power. Promoting sustainable use and management of our marine resources, and promoting value-added agro-processing to enhance domestic food security, reduce food imports, and encourage export. Growth, is misguided and unsustainable if it leaves vulnerable populations behind. Social resilience requires strengthening people's ability to withstand shocks by expanding access to essential services and developing responsive and effective social protection systems. Key initiatives like the Basic Needs Trust Fund must continue to act as flagship community development programs, creating inclusive, safe environments across participating countries. Borrowing member countries express their support for the bank's institutional reform agenda, known as CDB Forward, which envisages reforms in governance, in addressing the implementation deficit or gap, workforce considerations, making the bank's operating model more proactive and client-centered. Considering our structural challenges in the region, The bank must make its development impact felt with greater speed and with far more reach. The borrowing member countries have delivered a clear mandate. We must move swiftly to implement the transformative reforms to eliminate friction and drive our institution forward. The need is urgent, and therefore the time to act is now. The borrowing member countries urge the bank to accelerate project implementation, address the persistent issue of undisbursed loans, and reform its procurement frameworks by adopting digital tools and risk-based approaches. We also encourage the bank to aggressively embrace and leverage partnerships with other multilateral development banks, as well as bilateral development partners, to mobilize private capital and maximize co-financing. To sustain this ambitious agenda, the borrowing member countries appeal directly to all CDB shareholders and non-regional partners to fully support the bank in its strategic direction. The 10-year strategic plan requires robust capital backing and expanded resources. In this regard, full support must be given to the Special Development Fund, SDF 11, which remains the lifeblood of concessional financing for the region's vulnerable members. Resistance, adaptation, and an unconquerable spirit define the historical experience of the Caribbean people. Despite our limitations, we continue to deliver better lives for our people. However, the region's development path must not be defined or be limited by our vulnerability. It must be shaped by our deliberate choices, our capable institutions, and by regional solidarity. In the words of Sir Arthur Lewis, the bank's first president, and I quote, "The Caribbean people can solve their own problems. But first, they must find the secret that will put hope, initiative, direction, and an unconquerable will into the management of their affairs." That advice remains relevant today. Let us enter these meetings committed to working collaboratively on these vital governance reforms and sustainable development pathways. And may our choices foster a stable, inclusive, and thriving Caribbean that is sustainable for generations to come. I thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Governor. I now call on the temporary alternate governor for Brazil, Ms. Marcela Tetzner Leis, to give the reply to the welcome address on behalf of the regional non-borrowing member countries.
Good morning. Dear Honorable Prime Minister of the Bahamas, the Most Honorable Philip Davis, President Daniel Bast, esteemed members of the bank seated at this table, and all the CDB members, fellow governors and directors, and distinguished guests attending the 66th annual meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank. Good morning to you all. It is a great honor to be here representing regional non-borrowing members country, and particularly Brazil, at the highest level meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank. The importance of the CDB extends far beyond the borrowing countries of the Caribbean, as the bank fosters dialogue, cooperation, and development across the wider Latin American and Caribbean region and beyond. 1 year ago, in 2025, Brazil had the great honor of hosting the bank's annual meeting in our capital, Brasilia, and also the Brazil-Caribbean Summit, bringing together representatives from 16 nations under the motto, "Drawing Closer to Unite." President Lula put forward priority areas for cooperation, including environment, energy transition, food security, connectivity, and diplomacy. It took several months of intense work and dedication from our team to make the bank's annual meeting possible. Hence, we know firsthand how much effort takes place behind the scenes of a meeting like this. For that reason, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to the CDB management and above all to our host, the Bahamas, for their warm hospitality and excellent organization of this event. For more than a century, CDB has played a vital role in promoting economic cooperation, integration, and development among Caribbean countries through the financing and support of impactful public and private investments. Over time, the bank has continually evolved to respond to the needs of the region and to an ever-changing global landscape. This year, with the launch of the 2026-2035 strategic plan, we are beginning a new cycle. In a world marked by geopolitical instability as well as growing climate and environmental risks, the central theme of the plan could not be more timely: resilience. In this regard, the strategy is particularly successful in organizing its framework around 3 interconnected pillars of resilience: social, economic, and environmental. These dimensions are inseparable from one another, and it is increasingly evident that economic growth and social well-being are profoundly linked to environmental sustainability. As it engendered this outward-looking strategy, CDB did also undertake important internal reforms. For nearly 2 years, the bank and the members have been engaged in an extensive governance review process. As chair of the Governance Review Committee, Brazil has had the opportunity to follow this work very closely. It is, therefore, with great satisfaction that we witness the conclusion of an important step of this governance review during this meeting. From this point forward, it is time to roll up our sleeves. It is time to move from strategy to implementation, not only in delivering the 10-year strategic vision, but also in carrying out the governance reforms that will make the bank stronger, more efficient, and better equipped to fulfill its mission. May this meeting serve as a moment for reflection, dialogue, and the construction of solutions that allow us to progress even further toward these shared objectives. I wish everyone a successful and productive meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. And finally, I call on the temporary alternate governor for China, Mr. Lu Lei, to give the reply to the welcome address on behalf of the non-regional, non-borrowing member countries.
Thank you, Chair. Your Excellencies, Honorable Mr. Prime Minister, Honorable Chairman and members of Board of Governors, Honorable President Daniel Best, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of non-regional, non-borrowing members, I sincerely thank the government and people of Bahamas. Thank you for your warm hospitality in hosting the 56th annual meeting. We would also like to thank CDB team for the excellent organization. This annual meeting's theme, Forging Caribbean's Future, Strategic Solutions for Uncertain Times, is very timely. Caribbean currently faces significant challenges, including climate vulnerability, external shocks, constrained fiscal space, rising inflation, and tightening financing conditions for the global and regional development. In this context, building and maintaining strong institutions, deepening partnerships, and delivering at scale will be essential to sustaining progress. We greatly value our partnership with the Caribbean and our membership in CDB, and we are proud to work together to strengthen resilience, reduce poverty, and promote inclusive and sustainable growth across this region. We would like to recognize the strong momentum established under the leadership of President Daniel Best. Since he took office in February 2025, in a very relatively short period, the bank has made progress sharpening its strategic direction and has achieved many important milestones. President Best and the senior management team have demonstrated a commitment to advancing institutional governance, strengthening delivery, and positioning the bank to meet future challenges. We welcome the Strategic Plan 2026 to 2035. This plan presents an ambitious vision to strengthen social, economic, and environmental resilience in this region. We also support the comprehensive governance review and the bank's first MOPAN assessment. Together, these initiatives build a strong foundation and evidence base. They enhance the bank's ability to deliver for the region. The CDB Forward Roadmap presents a necessary and forward-looking reform agenda to modernize the bank's governance, operating model, institutional culture, and financial capacity. We call upon CDB management to move decisively into high-quality implementation and to look forward to engaging closely with the bank on these efforts. The process will be central to enhancing institutional performance, strengthening delivery, and ultimately achieving greater development impact. We congratulate the bank on the important progress made in strengthening its risk management framework. The use of innovative financial instruments has supported its credit rating and helped increase lending headroom. We are pleased that the bank is operating at the frontier of innovation for MDB balance sheet optimization. Through the exposure exchange agreements with other regional multilateral development institutions and the first loss portfolio credit guarantee with the government of Canada, which is consistent with the G20 capital adequacy framework agenda. Looking ahead, a central priority will be translating this strategic direction into tangible results for Caribbean. The effectiveness of banks' support will depend on our ability to respond to the specific needs and priorities of its members, focusing on the bank's areas of comparative advantages and meaningful impacts. Strong, focused country engagement strategies will therefore be critical to ensure country ownership, clear strategic direction, coherence across instruments, and measurable achievements. As the bank continues to advance its strategic ambitions, we underscore the importance of strong accountability to shareholders, contributors to the Special Development Fund, client countries, and communities the bank is intended to serve. Continued focus on outcomes, institutional performance, disciplined balance between ambition and delivery, the efficient use of scarce resources to safeguard the bank's financial sustainability will be essential to sustain confidence and support for its work. We encourage CDB to strengthen its procurement standards in line with broader MDB reforms, promoting quality and cost effectiveness, supporting innovation, market engagement, and local employment, thus advancing poverty reduction goals and private sector-led growth. We also encourage the continued and systematic sharing of evaluations and analytical studies and application of lessons learned across all of the bank's instruments. This will help reinforce learning, transparency, and continuous improvement. Finally, we wish to underline the importance of partnership. We encourage the bank to continue strengthening collaboration with other MDBs, development partners, and the private sector. Deeper coordination and harmonization can reduce transaction costs for countries and maximize development effect. The bank plays a vital role as trusted regional partner and convener to align efforts and amplify collective impact. As always, China, together with other non-regional, non-borrowing members, stands ready to continue working in partnership with the bank. We believe that through partnership, we can turn today's strategic choices into lasting outcomes to support resilience, inclusion, and sustainable growth across Caribbean. Congratulations for this excellent annual meeting. Once again, thank you.
Thank you, Governor. I now invite the President of the Caribbean Development Bank, Mr. Daniel Best, to the podium to address the meeting. President Best.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to our Honorable Prime Ministers, Honorable Premiers, Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished partners, colleagues, and friends. There could not be a more fitting time or place for us to gather for this, the 56th annual meeting of the Board of Governors, than here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Let me begin with appreciation and, of course, congratulations to the government and people of the Bahamas. Thank you very much for your warm hospitality. It reflects the very best of the Caribbean spirit, welcoming, united, and forward-looking. The Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Edward Davis, congratulations on your historic re-election. I wish you every success in this new chapter as you continue to advance the progress and shared prosperity of the Bahamian people. Today, I invite us to reflect on how far we have come, how much we have overcome, and on what this moment is asking of us, because history has a remarkable way of speaking to the present. More than 56 years ago, during a period of profound change, Caribbean leaders gathered with a bold idea. Across the region, countries were emerging from colonialism, building new institutions, defining new identities, and confronting an uncertain future. In the face of those realities, those leaders understood something very important. They understood that uncertainty was not a reason to retreat. It was a reason to build. And so they built. They built the Caribbean Development Bank, an institution created by Caribbean people for Caribbean people, grounded in the belief that our future would be stronger if we faced our challenges together. It is fitting that the inaugural meeting of this institution took place right here in the Bahamas. We returned here in 1980 as countries confronted difficult economic conditions. We gathered again here in 2010 amid the aftermath of the Great Recession. And now in 2026, we meet once more in a world marked by geopolitical fragmentation, climate volatility, technological disruption, public health risk, and shrinking development finance. Different crises, different circumstances, but the same question. How do we build a stronger Caribbean in uncertain times? Friends, uncertainty is not new to us. It is part of our region's story. And every generation before us answered uncertainty with action. So as I reflect on our theme for the coming week, Forging the Caribbean's Future, Strategic Solutions for Uncertain Times, CDB commits that this annual meeting will ensure that we isolate challenges and issues, identify innovations and solutions, implement actions to support meaningful change, and build permanent partnerships. These efforts will drive meaningful impact that will help the bank to innovate, transform, and thrive. Elements of my vision of rebirth for the bank. At the bank, we recognize that many of the challenges we face are not new, but they are being intensified by a rapidly changing global landscape. The impacts of climate change are now more pronounced than ever before. I had the opportunity to visit Jamaica in the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. And what I witnessed was nothing short of gut-wrenching. Communities flattened, homes gone, and a hospital barely standing. And yet within those damaged walls, nurses and doctors pressed on, working tirelessly to care for the injured, because that is who we are as a region. We persevere even in the face of devastation. At the same time, the changing global landscape is amplifying external shocks and geopolitical tensions, and their effects are reaching our shores with increasing speed and intensity. We see it in rising oil prices. We feel it in supply chain disruptions that threaten our food security. Uncertainty is now the norm. And as we become more interconnected, the pace of technological disruption is transforming all aspects of our economies and societies. It is present in rural communities where households still struggle with basic connectivity. It is evident in the growing cybersecurity threats that put our personal and national data at risk. Yet it is this very interconnection and integration that holds the greatest promise for our region, unlocking our ability to compete on the global stage, attract world-class investment, and ultimately build resilient, dynamic societies where our young people choose not to leave, but to stay, thrive, and shape the future. Our strength lies in our shared history. Our opportunity lies in our common challenges, and our success will be determined by how boldly we embrace regional collaboration and partnership so that we can do better, move faster, and grow stronger together. Friends, since we last spoke in Brasilia in 2025, we have been busy. We have approved and disbursed in excess of US $400 million to advance critical infrastructure, strengthen educational outcomes, support climate change and disaster response, and strengthen the development of the private sector across our region. We achieved a record US $226.7 million in climate finance commitments while mobilizing new resources through the Green Climate Fund. Notably, 3 CDB-led GCF proposals were approved, including the first single-country GCF project right here in the Bahamas, strengthening water security and resilience to future storms. Across the region, we are driving impact at scale. In partnership with IDB and regional governments, we are leading a unified effort to retrofit homes in more than 15 countries, transforming vulnerable housing into resilient shelters and protecting millions of Caribbean families from climate shocks. At the community level, resilience continues to grow. Through the Basic Needs Trust Fund, 92 projects have been completed across 9 countries, with a new $53.6 million cycle approved. But we are not stopping there. Our new 10-year strategic plan, 2026 to 2035, is anchored, as you have heard, in social, economic, and environmental resilience, because resilience must shape every investment we make. To translate this into action, we are focusing where it matters most. First, our youth. Nearly half of our population is under the age of 30. Yet too many remain disconnected from opportunity. This is not just a social challenge. It is an economic one. Our strategy prioritizes skills, entrepreneurship, and access to finance so that our young people can build their futures here at home. Let me tell you about Nkrumah Fong. Nkrumah is a young Jamaican innovator and founder of Ceres Labs, who is turning climate ambition into action with Vector One, a pilot technology designed to reduce emissions from vehicles, ships, ports, and generators and buildings. His breakthrough was accelerated through a CDB-funded regional clean tech incubator, implemented with the Caribbean Climate Innovation Center. With targeted support, he transformed an idea into a cutting-edge carbon absorption solution. Vector One shows how CDB investment in youth and innovation is driving climate resilience and green growth in the Caribbean. Second, stronger institutions. Development is about more than financing. It is about delivery. The real test is whether we can turn ideas into outcomes and commitments into tangible improvements in people's lives, because citizens do not experience strategies, they experience results. In Belize, our engagement went beyond financing. CDB supported an institutional diagnostic and governance reform program for the Development Finance Corporation, strengthening its governance, its operations, governance, and long-term sustainability. Today, DFC is a leading development finance institution in Belize, supporting private sector development through business lending, mortgage financing, and student loans. Third, climate action. Climate risk is not a future threat. It is our present reality. We are scaling up investments in resilient infrastructure, renewable energy, and disaster preparedness, while working with partners to unlock innovative financing to strengthen our region's resilience. By supporting institutions such as the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Efficiency and the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, we are helping to strengthen regional coordination, technical capacity, and policy coherence, ensuring that countries are better equipped to plan, respond, and deliver at scale. At its core, therefore, this strategy is about people, the entrepreneur seeking opportunity, the farmer facing uncertainty, and the young person deciding where their future lies. Resilience is not built on paper. It is built in lives. As I shared last year, this is a moment of rebirth for CDB. That is why we have developed an ambitious but practical reform program called CDB Forward. This is the vehicle that will allow us to increase our strategic plan's developmental impact. It is the bridge between vision and execution and rests on 4 pillars: an uncompromising culture of excellence, an improved operating model, enhanced governance and accountability, and strengthened financial capacity. CDB Forward speaks to how the bank must change, but more importantly, to why that change matters for our citizens. The cultural aspect is about who we are as an institution. For the bank, it means building a stronger sense of purpose, accountability, collaboration, and service. For the people we serve, a stronger culture means a bank that listens better, works more closely with countries, and remains deeply committed to improving lives through responsive and values-driven development. The operating model is about how we work. For the bank, it means becoming more agile, efficient, and effective in the way we design, finance, and implement our operations. It is about reducing delays, strengthening delivery, and making sure that our systems support results. For you, our clients, this means development support that reaches you faster, projects that are better prepared and better executed, and solutions that are more closely matched to their needs. Governance and accountability are about trust. For the bank, this means clearer roles, stronger oversight, and better decision-making. For you, it means confidence that the institution is acting with integrity, stewarding resources wisely, and remaining focused on outcomes that matter. Financial capacity is about strength and possibility. For the bank, it means ensuring that we have the resources, tools, and financial resilience to respond at the scale this moment demands. For the people we serve, it means greater access to financing, stronger support for resilience and growth, and a bank that can do more to help countries confront climate risks, debt pressures, and developmental challenges. Ultimately, CDB Forward will position the bank to serve the Caribbean with greater purpose, credibility, and impact in a decade that will demand nothing less. Friends of CDB, as we look ahead to this week, we recognize that in a world defined by uncertainty, we must go further. We must move from commitment to execution because uncertainty demands strategic solutions. This meeting is intentionally designed not just for dialogue, but for results, building partnerships and advancing implementations. Our seminars are no longer just discussions. They are solution labs focused on delivering practical responses to real challenges. The William G. Demas Lecture continues to anchor our thinking, challenging us to rethink development in a rapidly changing world. This year, Justice Dennis Barrow reminded us of a crucial point. Strong institutions, particularly judicial systems, are fundamental to resilience, investor confidence, and inclusive growth. We are also proud of the strong presence of the youth, not as observers, but as co-creators, ensuring that solutions for the future are shaped with those who will inherit it. Our platforms reflect this shift from ideas to action. The impact room is where strategy meets execution, advancing projects, partnerships, and private sector engagement. EdgeX connects innovation, technology, and development. From Dr. Ray Julian Furlong's work on transportation systems to our very own economist analysis of global uncertainty, these sessions focus on data-driven, forward-looking solutions. The Breakfast Exchange brings partners together to tackle financing and structural vulnerabilities facing SIDS, including climate and agricultural resilience. The President's Chat, with leaders from CABE and the OPEC Fund, centers on collaboration and how development institutions must evolve to respond effectively to today's challenges. But the true strength of this meeting lies in its people, governments, the private sector, IFI partners, civil society, academia, and voices too often unheard. Because inclusive solutions are the only ones that will ultimately endure. Friends, the moment before us is urgent, but it is also full of possibilities. The challenges we face are real, but so too is our capacity to overcome them together. And I say this with confidence because when I look across this room, I see something far more powerful than uncertainty. I see leadership. I see partnership. I see innovation. I see determination. And I see the same spirit that brought Caribbean leaders together more than 56 years ago. Those leaders looked beyond the crises of their moment and chose to build an institution that would serve generations they would never meet. Today, we are the beneficiaries of that vision because the Caribbean has never waited for history to happen to it. We have always been at our best when we had the courage to shape history ourselves. That was true when this bank was established. It was true through every challenge that follows. And it must be true again now. So let us leave this meeting with urgency. Let us leave with purpose. Let us leave with a renewed commitment to partnership. And let us leave determined to build a Caribbean that is stronger, greener, more resilient, more inclusive, and more prosperous than the one we inherited. Because if those visionary leaders who founded this institution could look upon us today, I believe they would ask only one thing of us: to be as bold in our moment as they were in theirs. I thank you.
Thank you very much, President Best. I now invite the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the Honorable Philip Edward Davis, to address the meeting. Please welcome him to the podium.
I adopt the protocol established and just welcome each and every one of you here. It is my honor, of course, to welcome you to the Bahamas and to open this 56th annual meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank. To every governor, every minister, and every partner who traveled here to be with us, I just say welcome. You've come to a nation that sees this bank as one of our own. It was built by our region. It answers to our region. It carries the purpose of our region. We have called this gathering Forging the Caribbean's Future. It is a strong theme, but we should be honest from the start, because honesty is the only foundation that holds. You cannot forge a future with borrowed fire. The world as it is has grown smaller, not larger. Capital that once moved freely now hesitates at our shores. Our banks lose correspondent relationships, and our businesses are cut away from a financial system that the rest of the world takes for granted. We are told, often at the same time, that we are too small to matter on the one hand, and too prosperous to be helped on the other. A single storm can erase a year of our national income in one night. That same storm can disqualify us from the financing we need to recover, because a formula written in a distant capital has decided that we are ineligible because we have graduated. Let me say in the serious of terms, we do not feel like graduates when the seas around us are rising. Climate finance, when it arrives, comes late. And too often it comes as a debt burden to our state. So we rebuild. But we borrow to rebuild. And the debt we carry crowds out the schools, the clinics, and the ability to invest in other opportunities that we owe our people. This is the world as it is. You know it. I'm here to name it honestly because no lasting progress is built on a borrowed truth. We also have to be honest about ourselves. For too long, we have treated endurance like achievement. We have survived hurricanes and pandemics, debt and downturns, and we have called that strength. It is strength. But this morning I must say the harder thing. We have been resilient for so long that we have begun to mistake survival for progress. Surviving the storm is different from changing the conditions that create it. Enduring the old order is different from building a better one. A region that learns only to survive will be asked to survive again and again and again until survival is the only thing it knows how to do. And I say we, without exception, because the Bahamas lives with the same reality. We too have lived as tenants in a house we did not build, following rules drafted in rooms where we had no seat. I'm here as a leader who believes the time to build has arrived. Our own home. That is the truth at the center of our gathering. The global financial architecture was not designed for us. It was designed without our storms, our scale, and our future in mind. We've been tenants of this architecture across generations, and the rent keeps rising. The rules keep changing without our consent. And no outside power is coming to fix it for us. So we are left with one clear path. And I ask every governor in this hall to consider it. If we will not write the rules of our own financial future, then we will be left only to discover how to survive within the rules of others. Those who refuse to write the rules will, in the end, become tenants subjected to a state of perennial survival. There's no easier path. We simply wait for the house to repair itself. And we cannot do that. We're not the first to face this choice. I want to tell a story because it may be the most important thing I say to you this morning. Africa faced the same choice. African nations were told what we were told: too great a risk, too fragmented, too small to be financed at scale. And Africa made a choice. Africa did not knock louder. Africa built its own door. They founded the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, an institution to finance African trade on African terms. They did not wait for permission. They began the work themselves. Look at what that institution can do now. This year, Afreximbank raised its commitment to our region from $3 billion US to $5 billion. More than $750 million has already reached our region. A pipeline of more than $2 billion is still to follow. They are building a trade center in Bridgetown, and they've turned their attention to something that should get the attention of everyone in this room: the creation of a Caribbean Export-Import Bank, a Caribbean Exim Bank, an institution that could finally be our own. We should be clear about what this means. It was not charity passing down from north to south. It was solidarity rising from south to south. It was one part of the global majority saying to another, we have built our own house, now we will help you build yours. Africa did not wait. The only question that remains this morning is whether we will. And I know what gives us some pause. It is not the cost of building. It is what I call the quieter doubt. The doubt that we can't act together at all. There are some, even in this room, who feel the pull of a familiar temptation to place one nation first, to pursue the national interest alone, and to leave the regional interest to fend for itself. I understand that temptation. Every leader here answers first to their own people. That is not a weakness. It is the duty of office. There is an African proverb that speaks directly to this moment. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. The Caribbean has never needed speed. The Caribbean has always needed distance. And no single one of our economies, no matter how determined, can travel that distance on its own. So we must not allow ourselves to be turned against one another, competing for the same scarce capital, the same investor, the same narrow advantage, while the architecture that disadvantages every one of us is left untouched. When we are set against each other, we never win. And we must not tear down the institutions we have already begun to build for ourselves. CARICOM is the first house we built together. It is not finished. It is not perfect. No union of free nations is ever perfect. But you do not abandon the house you are building because the wind grows harder or because a door begins to stick. You stay and you finish the work. We are a nation where our union is weak. We should strengthen it. Where it is broken, we should repair it. Where it has fallen short, we should not walk away. We should ask the harder question of how to make it work. Whether we choose to act together or apart, one truth will not bend to our preference. The same tide that lifts one of our islands lifts them all. The same storm that floods one of our shores threatens every other. We may sail under different flags, but we are passengers in the same vessel. No one bails water from one end of a sinking ship and claims he is safe. Some will say that this kind of ambition is wrong for uncertain times. I believe the opposite. Uncertainty is the reason to build. A sailor does not wait for calm water to learn his craft. He learns because the sea will never be still. So let me be practical, because a vision without a plan is only an idea. We must pool the strength we already have. No single Caribbean economy can finance its future alone. Together, we are a market the world has every reason to take seriously. It is no longer enough to be a region the world is willing to invest in. We must become a region willing to invest in itself. We must no longer accept that a credit rating built for a continent that should decide the fate of an archipelago. We must create tools of our own, regional guarantees, blended finance, mechanisms that reward our resilience instead of punishing our geography. We should be measured by the future we are willing to finance, not by the disasters we are forced to survive. We must use the institutions we already have, beginning with this one. The strategic plan of this bank for the years 2026 to 2035 gives us a foundation. We should build on it, not around it. And we must invest in the one asset that no agency can ever downgrade and that no storm can ever wash away: the mind of a Caribbean child. We owe our young people far more than survival. We owe them prosperity. And we owe them something even more powerful: a reason to stay in the region. Today, too many of our brightest leave these shores and do not return because the future they want is being built somewhere else. Every gifted mind that leaves tells us something about the future we have offered them. We must change that verdict. We owe our children more than a region to inherit. We owe them a region worth staying for. We should give them an education that teaches more than endurance. It must teach them to be curious, to question, to imagine, and to compete with any mind in any place in a world that changes faster than any curriculum can follow. A region that values curiosity. Curiosity is a region that can never be left behind. The future will not belong to those who simply endured it. It will belong to those who dared to build it. So let me be clear about where we now stand. This is not a storm to be waited out. It is a tide that has already turned. We do not seek a final room in another's house. We are laying a foundation of our own. We do not ask for a seat at a table that others have set. We are building the table. And we are no longer the small, the vulnerable, the high risk on another's ledger. We are the place where the Caribbean comes to forge its future. That is the name written on the door of this gathering. It should become the name on the door of the house we build. So what does this ask of us? It asks us to accept that resilience is no longer enough. Surviving a shock is not the same as shaping a future. A region that only endures will remain poorer, more fragile, and more dependent than it needs to be. And what must we do now? We must build. We must deepen our partnerships with Afrexim Bank, for example. We must move from speaking of a Caribbean Exim Bank to bringing one to life. We must give this bank's plan our political will, not polite applause. And we must finance the ambition of our children with the same seriousness we give to our debt. We cannot build the future of the Caribbean on the old order. That order is passing. And nostalgia for it is no strategy at all. This must be the era of possibility. But possibility is not a feeling we talk into existence. It is an institution we build with a balance sheet, with a building, and with a name. We have been tenants long enough. We are no longer asking for the keys to a house we did not build. We are laying the foundation of one that we will. History should not remember us as a generation that survived the old world. It should remember us as the generation that built the new one. To every nation of this region ready to do the work, I say this morning, the Bahamas will build with you. Thank you. Together, let's forge this future with our own fire, with our own hands. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I now bring this opening ceremony to a close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We ask that all guests and attendees remain seated as the head table now leaves and proceeds to take a group photo, and the head table will be followed by all of the governors. We also ask that all governors return to this room after the photo session for 12:30. 11? Return at 12 p.m. Head table. Speakers, please follow the head table.
Caribbean businesses pay up to 4 times more for electricity than in the United States. For any business trying to grow, that's a death sentence. Renewable energy potential is here, but regulatory barriers, financial gaps, and aging infrastructure are crippling the transition. This is why the Caribbean Development Bank is convening an action-oriented dialogue, Energy Transition, the key to a more resilient Caribbean. We are moving from identifying the problem to engineering the solution. It is time to unlock the region's single greatest opportunity, using sustainable energy to secure our economic destiny. Join us live online on Thursday, June 4th at 9 a.m. Let's make energy work for us. Picture this, a Caribbean economy pursuing growth, investing in infrastructure, building resilience, and yet buckling under the weight of debt. Debt that was manageable until interest rates spiked, until the hurricane hit, until a global shock struck. But new approaches are emerging. Together with partners, the Caribbean Development Bank is redefining how debt is structured, reducing cost, and linking debt relief directly to development outcomes. The CDB seminar on innovative debt solutions will examine bold financing tools that can redefine how the Caribbean escapes the debt trap. Getting this right is not optional. Be part of the solution. Join us online live on Thursday, June 4th at 2:30 p.m. A trade war erupts. Commodity prices spike. A geopolitical crisis unfolds thousands of miles away. But within weeks, the Caribbean feels it. Higher prices, tighter fiscal space, economies absorbing shocks they cannot control. External threats are reshaping the region. The question is the region ready to face them? EdgeX Analytics Unlocked is the Caribbean Development Bank's new platform built for this kind of analysis. It launches with shockwaves, how global crises are hitting the Caribbean. The region cannot respond to what it hasn't clearly measured. EdgeX will deliver the data and the analysis to chart the path forward. Watch the broadcast Friday, June 5th at 2 p.m. This is where knowledge becomes strategy. Don't miss it. You're stuck in traffic again. But that gridlock isn't just frustrating you. It's quietly strangling the Caribbean's growth. Lost productivity, stagnating economies, competitiveness quietly eroding every single day. Traffic congestion is no longer just a transport problem. It's a measurable drag on regional development, a constraint that hasn't been adequately addressed until now. The Caribbean Development Bank is unveiling EdgeX Analytics Unlocked, a bold new platform turning cutting-edge regional research into real policy action. First under the microscope, stuck in traffic. What congestion is costing the Caribbean? Data, modeling, analysis, and a frank conversation about what must change, because the region cannot afford to keep absorbing losses. Join us online Friday, June 5th at 10 a.m. This is where analysis becomes action. Don't miss it. Category 5 storms, catastrophic floods, budgets obliterated, economies buckling. At the same time, prices are rising, debt is mounting, and support systems are straining. The Caribbean is caught between the climate crisis and a fragmenting global financial order, and time is running out. At the 56th annual meeting, the Caribbean Development Bank is assembling leaders on the front line of climate action and international development finance. It's a frank, high-level reckoning with what must fundamentally and urgently change in the global financial order to meet the realities of small and vulnerable states. The Breakfast Exchange, a climate talk on the global economy. Join us live on Thursday, June 4th at 8 a.m. This is a conversation the region cannot delay. Caribbean businesses pay up to 4 times more for electricity than in the United States. For any business trying to grow, that's a death sentence. Renewable energy potential is here, with regulatory barriers, financial gaps, and aging infrastructure are crippling the transition. This is why the Caribbean Development Bank is convening an action-oriented dialogue. Energy transition, the key to a more resilient Caribbean. We are moving from identifying the problem to engineering the solution. It is time to unlock the region's single greatest opportunity, using sustainable energy to secure our economic destiny. Join us live online on Thursday, June 4th at 9 a.m. Let's make energy work for us. Picture this: a Caribbean economy pursuing growth, investing in infrastructure, building resilience, and yet buckling under the weight of debt. Debt that was manageable until interest rates spiked, until the hurricane hit, until a global shock struck. But new approaches are emerging. Together with partners, the Caribbean Development Bank is redefining how debt is structured, reducing cost, and linking debt relief directly to development outcomes. The CDB seminar on innovative debt solutions will examine bold financing tools that can redefine how the Caribbean escapes the debt trap. Getting this right is not optional. Be part of the solution. Join us online live on Thursday, June 4th at 2:30 p.m. A trade war erupts. Commodity prices spike. A geopolitical crisis unfolds thousands of miles away. But within weeks, the Caribbean feels it. Higher prices, tighter fiscal space, economies absorbing shocks they cannot control. External threats are reshaping the region. The question is the region ready to face them? EdgeX Analytics Unlocked is the Caribbean Development Bank's new platform built for this kind of analysis. It launches with shockwaves, how global crises are hitting the Caribbean. The region cannot respond to what it hasn't clearly measured. EdgeX will deliver the data and the analysis to chart the path forward. Watch the broadcast Friday, June 5th at 2 p.m. This is where knowledge becomes strategy. Don't miss it. You're stuck in traffic again. But that gridlock isn't just frustrating you. It's quietly strangling the Caribbean's growth. Lost productivity, stagnating economies, competitiveness quietly eroding every single day. Traffic congestion is no longer just a transport problem. It's a measurable drag on regional development, a constraint that hasn't been adequately addressed until now. The Caribbean Development Bank is unveiling EdgeX Analytics Unlocked, a bold new platform turning cutting-edge regional research into real policy action. First under the microscope, stuck in traffic. What congestion is costing the Caribbean? Data, modeling, analysis, and a frank conversation about what must change, because the region cannot afford to keep absorbing losses. Join us online Friday, June 5th at 10 a.m. This is where analysis becomes action. Don't miss it. Category 5 storms, catastrophic floods, budgets obliterated, economies buckling. At the same time, prices are rising, debt is mounting, and support systems are straining. The Caribbean is caught between the climate crisis and a fragmenting global financial order, and time is running out. At the 56th annual meeting, the Caribbean Development Bank is assembling leaders on the front line of climate action and international development finance. It's a frank, high-level reckoning with what must fundamentally and urgently change in the global financial order to meet the realities of small and vulnerable states. The Breakfast Exchange, a climate talk on the global economy. Join us live on Thursday, June 4th at 8 a.m. This is a conversation the region cannot delay. Caribbean businesses.
Of course, is the Minister of Economic Affairs, the Honorable Michael Halkitis. Good morning. Minister of Finance. My apologies for that, but obviously a very busy morning here. We just recently concluded the opening sessions for the 56th Annual General Meeting for the Caribbean Development Bank. So talk to us about the key takeaways that face not only the Bahamas, but the region that we're addressing.
Yes, as you said, we just completed the opening session, and from the speeches of the President, the Prime Minister, my remarks, and even the responses from the governors who spoke, everybody called for unity and collaboration and working together as we face uncertain times. It's we have a lot in common. Small island economies that are very much, most of them dependent on tourism, very open, susceptible to climate events, geopolitical tensions, and so it's an uncertain time for the world. But this, as the President said in his remarks, he reminded us that the very first meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank was held here in 1970, here in the Bahamas, at a time when many countries were coming out of colonialism and emerging into independence. And each time that the meeting was held in the Bahamas, it happened to be a critical time for the region. And so he invited us to consider bold ideas, work together as we face these challenges. And those comments were also reiterated by our Prime Minister in his remarks. So what happens from here is we take a break and we go back at about 12 o'clock and we do the official business of the meeting, that is accepting the annual report and some other reports. And at that time, we will also announce the date of the next annual meeting, which we expect to be in Belize next year. And so at that time, I will hand over, the instruments to the delegate from Belize, the governor from Belize. And then tomorrow we will discuss some other issues related to the bank, internal issues. Yesterday and the day before, they had some very, very exciting interaction with the young people. They went to great lengths to ensure that young people were incorporated into the activities of this general meeting, not just on a superficial level, but meaningfully involved in the meeting. They've been reaching out to entrepreneurs. There's what they call an impact room, showing the impact of the Caribbean Development Bank on the private sector. And as has been said, we face challenges, but these challenges present opportunities, and these are opportunities for governments and the private sector to work together. So it's a very exciting time. As you see, the hall is buzzing. We have hundreds of delegates from all over. We have the Prime Minister here, some premiers as well, ministers of finance. So it's a wonderful opportunity to collaborate with regional colleagues. Most of the issues, the challenges that we face are common, and so this gives us another opportunity to collaborate and help each other.
And obviously, the CDB has a number of projects that are ongoing. Can you speak to us a little bit about that? We had an opportunity to speak to officials earlier on during our pre-show that talked about resilience, sustainability, some of the water projects. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, there are some the water projects, particularly the Family Island water project that they are financing. I think this is a second phase. It started several years ago in some of our islands and some portions of New Providence, making sure that residents have access to clean, healthy, potable water, which, again, it's good. It's critically important for human existence, but also when you go to the next level and speak about development, and for example, even Bahamians wanting to move back to Family Island, something as simple that we might not think about as being able to have access to sufficient, not only clean water, but sufficient water. And so we continue to expand the water infrastructure. They've also financed the BTVI, So they're helping to finance our technical and vocational training, which is again, it's a loan for BTVI, but when we look at the impact, training young people in particular for giving them the skills so they can take advantage of the economy that is growing. And so we've had a long-standing relationship with the Caribbean Development Bank. We're seeking to expand it, and we're very, very happy to have them here.
Well, thank you so much, Minister Alcides. Definitely, I wish you the greatest success in the remainder of the meetings and those high-level talks that will take place throughout the remainder of today and throughout the rest of the week as well. So thank you so much for taking a few minutes to chat with us and explain to us what's going to take place behind some of the closed-door sessions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So you've been tuned into our live coverage of the opening ceremonies of the 56th Annual General Meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank. Now that they are concluded, as you heard from the minister, there will be some closed sessions that will take place later on in the afternoon. But for now, this has brought our broadcast to a close here at the Baha Convention Center. I'm Jimenita Swain. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Trending in business? Who's making major money moves, and how's it shaping your future? This is Economics, your front row seat to the biggest stories in business, innovation, and finance. Powered by the Sand Dollar, the digital currency of the Central Bank of the Bahamas. It's fast, secure, Bahamian. We're breaking down the numbers, the news, and what it